Coming up on First at 4, the Floyd County Sheriff's Office honors former Sheriff's Deputy William Petries. And we'll have a very positive update on Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin.
Excellent news there. Feeling a little more like early January should throughout the region as high pressure briefly takes over. The very latest coming up as First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Two banners were hung today outside the Floyd County Sheriff's Office, one recognizing Kentucky's 2022 Sheriff of the Year, John Hunt, the other for Deputy of the Year, the late William Petries. The awards were presented late last year following what officers called a tragic time. Deputy Petries, of course, was a lifelong public servant who was killed in the June Allen ambush. Sheriff John Hunt says it was an honor to have his department accept the award on Petries' behalf and a bigger honor to get it home where it belongs.
Obviously, with his absence and in his honor, it was just, I cried, obviously, that he won that. But also for his child, his son Chase is just an amazing kid. He's just like his daddy, and we were able to hand that award off to him when we brought it back, so we had our own get-together.
And you will hear from Chase Petries as he reflects on the award and his father's legacy for the first time, coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. Sales tax is now being added to more services in Kentucky, and you might have noticed the change. The tax went into effect earlier this week. It impacts some utilities, parking, and services like cosmetic surgery. Kelsey Soto talked with some businesses impacted by the newly implemented sales tax.
Your first paycheck of 2023 should look a little bit bigger as the state income tax was reduced from 5 to 4.5%. But those on a fixed income or some retirees won't experience that break.
You're going to be paying more on those everyday things that people need and require.
Eyes are now turning to consumption taxes as roughly 30 services saw changes in the new year to their tax structure, like travelers to Bluegrass Airport, who will now notice that 6% sales tax added to their parking fees.
So the main change due to that impact is that we will no longer be accepting cash payment as you exit the parking lot here at Bluegrass Airport, so it will be card-only payment.
Jason Bailey with the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy is worried that the current federal stimulus dollars won't always be available.
I'm concerned that it's really only the beginning because the income tax cut is so expensive that there's a pretty large hole in the budget resulting. And so this may only be the beginning of the kind of sales tax increases that we'll see down the road.
The state legislature plans to reduce income tax another 0.5% next year down to 4% and slowly phase out income tax altogether. But many families experiencing a rise in inflation will see increased taxes on their summer camps, group fitness classes, and even rideshare services.
There will be a budget crunch because you can't just get something for nothing, and when you give away large tax cuts and don't replace the lost revenue, you're going to create a deficit at some point, and so there will be that pressure.
Dollars that could quickly add up as the year goes on. In Lexington, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
Well, Kentucky lawmakers are inching closer to lowering the state income tax. Legislation passed last year dropped it 0.5%. Now, lawmakers have advanced a measure to drop it even more. It comes as Republicans say the state is doing well and will continue to do so under their leadership. But Democrats say this only helps the wealthy and will hurt the poor. The bill will continue what already started last year in a bill to lower the income tax rate from 5 to 4.5%. The bill went into effect a few days ago. It further states the rate will be lowered to a full 4% in January of next year.
We have changed. We're not changing. We have changed. We started in 18. We're continuing that change.
This is a shift in the tax burden is what this is. We're moving to more of a consumptive-based tax, and that's really good for higher earners, and it actually raises the burden on the lowest of earners.
Friday is the last day of the first part of this year's legislative session. After tomorrow, lawmakers will return in February for the final 26 days of the session. We will have more about this tonight at 6. A few months ago, we reported on the rationing of insulin. We learned that more people in Kentucky were having to ration their supply, putting them in dangerous situations. With the new year now here, organizations are putting plans in place to make a difference in the upcoming regular session of the General Assembly. Insulin prices are still an issue across the state. Although the price of insulin was capped at $30 for people on state-regulated health insurance plans, there are many people who aren't on that plan, which studies show led to many people rationing their insulin supply.
We'd like to see any measure put forward that would reduce the cost of insulin. Because it's such a chronic problem, and because it's a problem that is shared by so many people, you've got a tremendous demand for the insulin.
The American Diabetes Association says people with diabetes have medical expenses about 2.3 times higher than those who do not have the disease. Advocates say there is hope in the drug crisis. Just last week, we reported how Kentucky's early overdose numbers for 2022 show a promising dip as organizations on the ground try to get back on track with pre-pandemic declines. In eastern Kentucky, once called the painkiller capital of the world, researchers say a strong recovery ecosystem is among the factors that's helped save lives.
I think there's a lot of room for other areas to learn from Eastern Kentucky and to see sort of how they were able to make progress and the things that now in this post-COVID world, as we're trying to sort of regain the ground that we lost during COVID, what are some of the successful things that happened in Eastern Kentucky?
Tonight at 11, we'll show you how that recovery ecosystem is helping to bridge the great health divide over one of the biggest public health crises of our time, plus what gaps still remain.
Well, definitely cooler out there today. We will continue to see the cooler weather work on through. Thanks to a little boundary pushing through overnight, it'll feel even cooler than this as we head into our Friday. Look outside right now, I-64 at Moorhead, 48 current temperature. Yes, a few clouds working back into the region. The look from Buffalo Mountain here in Perry County. Pretty nice sunset on the way, if I do say so myself. 50 the current reading there as well. Most of us are in the low 50s right now, even some middle 50s sneaking into parts of the Cumberland Valley. It's 54 Williamsburg, Harlan, Jonesville, and 55 in Jacksboro. So some mild air continues at this hour. There you see a few of those clouds working in ahead of that boundary, already bringing perhaps some light rain to the western suburbs of Cincinnati. Most of those should work on out of the region, but I can't rule out a flurry or a sprinkle as we head through tonight. Temperatures into the mid-40s as we head through the into the late evening and into the upper 30s by the overnight, falling into the mid-30s in areas where that cloud cover just hangs on a little while longer. Details in a few minutes on when we could return to some more average weather as we head toward tomorrow in just a bit. Steve?
All right, now for some really good news. Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin, who collapsed on the field and went into cardiac arrest during Monday's game against the Cincinnati Bengals, remains hospitalized in critical condition. But doctors speaking for the first time today say the 24-year-old is showing lots of improvement. CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports.
Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin is on the road to recovery.
He's moving his hands and feet, and again appears to be neurologically intact.
Doctors at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center say there's been substantial improvement in the 24-year-old's condition over the past 24 hours, and he is communicating with them.
First question that he wrote when he started to awaken was did we win? So we know that it's not only that the lights are on, we know that he's home.
Hamlin collapsed and went into cardiac arrest during Monday night's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. A medical team rushed out to perform CPR and a defibrillation.
It's critical that we do that resuscitation at the scene of where a cardiac arrest is. That portends the best recovery.
Patriots head coach Bill Belichick spoke to reporters shortly after the Bills issued a statement about Hamlin's condition.
The news from a little earlier this morning about Damar's progress is great news and encouraging, for all of us.
The Bills are set to take on the Patriots Sunday. Teammate and cornerback Khair Elam tweeted, "Our boy is doing better, awake, and showing more signs of improvement. Thank you, God." Doctors say Hamlin's family has been at his bedside, as well as members of the Buffalo Bills organization. They say more tests will be needed to determine the cause of his cardiac arrest. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
After having a walk-through session yesterday, the Bills are practicing today in preparation for their game against the Patriots on Sunday. Now, the Associated Press reports that the contest between Buffalo and Cincinnati will not resume. Coming up on First at 4, we'll show you a new concept car from BMW that actually changes colors.
And we're keeping it close to average as we finish things out this week. The details on when we return some showers to the forecast next.
Contact your local cable company to get in the circle.